Hey, what's up, 9 a.m. English class? My name is Lewis, and I will be interviewing a professor along with my partners, Gabby and Cassie. The professor that we will be interviewing is Professor Estrello. We will be asking.
What sort of text do students in your major or discipline typically read?
Textbooks in my class.
Any kind of text, articles, books.
There is a book right behind you that you can pull that out, and I can first days of school, and I'll show the camera. This is one of the main books that I use in my class. It's called The First Days of School. This I suggest all teacher majors, education majors to get. It's easy. It's a how-to book on how to be an effective teacher. Some of the most important things about teaching to be effective is to be organized. If you're organized and you've got procedures and routines worked into your daily schedule, then students know what their expectations are, and that's what I teach them in my 4650 classes. Organization for teachers is real important.
Okay, so what are some expectations from students before applying to the School of Ed?
Expectations? Well, you have to, in order to apply for the School of Ed, you have to have some of the basic expectations is you have to have 60 hours of college credit, and 12 of those hours should be in your major. So if you're English language arts, you should have some children's literature, some English writing, some American literature, as long as it adds up to 12 hours. And then you can apply for the School of Education.
What sort of text do you write on a regular basis?
What sort of text do I write?
Yeah, like what kind of writing do you?
Do I?
Yeah.
When I teach class, I don't do a lot of research writing. We model reflective writing with our students, so we'll do a lot of that reflective writing. Each of my students gets a journal where they reflect daily of their teaching experiences. Behind you is a book called Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire. Pull that out. First one on the left. Pull that out. So when we teach, also, we read this book and we write about it in our reflective journals. This is a story about a fourth grade teacher in East LA, one of the toughest neighborhoods, but because he's so motivated, and you learn about teaching by hearing other teachers' stories, just like we heard the other day about special ed teacher who was really motivated. This guy taught in East LA, high Hispanic population, but because he made learning so interesting, these students were learning about statistics, they were learning about Shakespeare, they were learning about classical music. So you teach with that motivation, that high energy, that sense of mission. He was teaching a science experiment and his hair accidentally caught on fire, but he was so engaged in his lessons. That's why the book is called Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire. And don't let anything distract you. Just try to be as motivated and inspiring for your students.
So would you consider writing to be critical to the field of ed?
Mm-hmm. I think writing's important as you develop in your teaching skills, especially in every aspect of teaching. You have to know, you you have to teach writing. So in order to teach writing, you have to know the different components of writing, the different genres of writing, the different skills that are important for writers, and then you as a teacher, you have to be able to model those and to be able to teach those. So, but what you're doing now as students is you're developing that critical writing. You're using writing as a means to communicate your thoughts, your reviews, your critiques on different articles and books.
Is writing critical to this field of education?
All teachers at some point are going to have to teach writing, the writing process to their students, from primary grades all the way up to secondary students. So in order to be able to teach that, you have to be able to be proficient in writing. Writing is part of each class that you take, whether it's reflective writing or writing for a purpose, expository writing. You have to be able to know what all those different styles of writing are so that you can teach your students. Students in even the younger grades have to know what an expository paragraph is, and they're going to have a how-to or a compare and contrast type of writing assignment. So you as a teacher, you're going to have to learn from the very basic steps in teaching writing to maybe more advanced if you're a secondary teacher.
So, what were some writing difficulties you faced for this field yourself?
I think you always have the challenge of maybe starting off. I don't know if you've had that problem how do I get started? How do I get that creative little boost to get into an idea and start writing about it? I think teaching students how to jump off into a writing project has been at times difficult.
What are some typical struggles students face when writing for this field, or writing in the field?
Well, you have to develop your critical thinking and be able to write and express those critical thoughts. You have to be able to write using academic language as opposed to maybe free-flowing journal type writing or creative writing. So there's different types of writing. Being able to use your writing as you interpret research, then put those thoughts into your own ideas, and then being able to write about those.
What are the aspects of writing do you look at the most in a student?
When students get to my class, I look for their ability to reflect on a teaching challenge, whether it's being able to teach for understanding, and so they would have to write about that and think through the process of whether or not that lesson was successful. Did it meet their objectives? Did the students achieve the desired goals? So my students have to write to be able to analyze the lesson and be able to determine what worked and what were the steps they're going to need to reteach in the next day's lesson or the next time frame's lesson. So you have to work through that in writing. Just doesn't come free flowing. You have to be organized in your thoughts.
Do you have any advice for future teachers?
For future teachers in regards to writing,
Yes.
I want you to be so comfortable in being able to write and think sequentially. Teachers, there's an organized thought process, beginning, introduction, middle, end. Just like when you're writing essays or doing research papers, everything has a format and a structure. And same with teaching. So that not only transcends from a writing class, but also you're going to have to use those skills when you're developing lessons. So there's some technical writing that's involved in these classes as well. That's always a challenge. How am I going to write to develop some creative, engaging lessons or activities for my students?
Okay, Mr. Estrella, thank you so much for your time.
It is a pleasure to visit with you.